Hello everyone, my name is Matt and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to show you a walkthrough of 3 PowerPoints that go together. And they are updated versions of 3 PowerPoints that I released in the summer of 2021, last summer. And these are just much better versions. They're a bit harder. They're just better in every single way. They look nicer. I changed everything about them. And I just felt like the lessons I had before were okay, but I found that a lot of people were just buying the first one, the Do You Ever lesson, and I thought if they didn't buy the other 2 lessons, the Do You Ever lesson just didn't really work that well as a standalone lesson, and if that was the only lesson they were buying, I just thought maybe they were going to be disappointed or not happy with it, and probably only about half of the people went and bought the second lesson. So I just felt uncomfortable with it because I didn't think it was that good of a lesson, and I didn't think it worked that well as a standalone lesson. But now I've changed it, and the Do You Ever lesson will work as a standalone lesson, but obviously I think it's better if you teach it in as the first of 3 lessons with the adverbs of frequency coming after, and then the how often coming after that. So I really just wanted to update these lessons. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, so I finally got around to it. So today is going to be a run through of all 3 lessons. The Do You Ever first, which again is an improved version. I added other language, I made it harder. The adverbs of frequency, which again, I added stuff and made it harder, and the how often, okay? How often lesson. And the way it's gonna work is if you've previously purchased any of these lessons, you're gonna get this updated version for free, okay? So I'm gonna update them on SendOwl, and it'll send out a notification to everyone who purchased those lessons, and they can download it for free. If you purchase this lesson or one of these lessons or all of these lessons from me on Taobao, I will email it to you, okay? If you don't receive an update or you don't receive an email with this updated version, please reach out to me, let me know, and I will send it to you because I just think these are much better versions, and I really appreciate everyone who came and bought those lessons in the past, and I want to make sure that you get what I think is a much better version. Okay, so I really hope you guys enjoy this. If you do, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, leave a comment below if you have any questions, and yeah, if you want to buy these PowerPoints, don't forget you can go into the video description below. You can download one of these PowerPoints, 2 of them, or you can download all 3 as a package deal, or you can go to my Taobao store and you can find them there. Okay, so let's get into the run-throughs. These are going to be run-throughs, not walkthroughs. I'm not going to explain in extreme detail. I will explain how to teach the lesson, but not in the most extreme detail of a walkthrough because this is 3 PowerPoints, so this is going to be a relatively long video anyway. All right, let's get right into it. Okay, let's have a look at this first PowerPoint. So as with all my PowerPoints, the beginning is my rules and a section for your review, and then we jump into the lesson. As I mentioned before, this is a remake of an old PowerPoint I released last summer. So the vocabulary is the same. I just added a lot of stuff. I made it a bit harder. So I think it's more suitable for grades 4, 5, and 6. The way I had it before wouldn't really work that well, I think, as an individual lesson. And if people didn't buy this lesson and the adverbs of frequency and the how often lesson together, I don't think it was worth it, you know, but I couldn't tell people they needed to buy all 3. So I noticed that some people were just buying the Do You Ever lesson. And I mean, I didn't get any complaints about it, but I just felt that it was too easy. And if someone was going to buy my lesson, I wanted it to be the best lesson they could have. So that's why I decided to update these lessons and make them better. So the beginning of the lesson is the same because it's just the vocabulary. You know, it's the exact same thing. So this is a run through. I'm not going to go through in extreme detail about how to teach it, but essentially here are the 6 different phrases, the activities that we're going to be talking about in this lesson and the other 2 lessons. So this is just the intro little game here, getting the kids to say the words, and then we go into the second part of the lesson. And this is where the lesson gets different, like extremely different from the way it was originally. So in this lesson, you'll see that I have I want to teach them to make sure they answer do you questions the correct way. Because what you'll find is that a lot of students, like for example, if you ask, do you like to eat pizza? They'll say, yes, I like. Or do you like something? They say, yes, I like, instead of yes, I do. So in the beginning part of this lesson, I want to make sure that the students are learning this. You know, do you questions, the answer is with a do or with a don't, not the verb here, like, okay? And I show a few examples. Do you have a notebook? Okay, it should not be yes I have, it should be yes I do. Okay, a lot of students make this mistake, so I thought it was a good time, since we're doing do you ever, it has do in the beginning of the question, that it was a good time to review this or teach it if your students don't know it, or just re-emphasize it to them, remind them of it. Do you know how to dance? Yes I do, or no I don't. Not yes I know. Okay, and then we're going to introduce the phrase of the lesson, which is do you ever. Okay, do you ever play sports? Yes I do, or no I don't. Now, I taught this lesson with my students this week, and I found that my grade 4s didn't really know the word ever. Like, a few of them knew it once what I did in class is I asked them how to say this, and they were all saying, do you play sports? Which isn't wrong, it's not wrong, but this is just a better way to ask, it kind of emphasizes this meaning. And once I told them, there was a few of them that were like, oh, and they'd heard it before, but only like 3 or 4 in every class of 40. So it wasn't the majority. Most of them didn't know this. So it's definitely good for grade 4s to learn, and depending where you are, grade 5 or 6. Now, regardless of how good your students are at English, getting them to practice something like this is important, because just because they've learned it doesn't mean they know how to use it. And if you have a full lesson using it or teaching it, re-emphasizing it, that's how they're going to remember in the future. Okay, let's go into teaching part 3. Sorry if you hear anything in the background. My cat decided to wake up and he's eating now. So he's right next to me eating, and he likes to play with his food. Okay, so the next part of the lesson, when we ask them, do you ever, and they say, yes, I do, we want to be asking them, well, when? When do they do it? Okay, so it's a good opportunity for us to teach a bunch of different things, or to review it and allow them to practice it. Okay, so the first thing I want them to learn is at weekends. You could also teach on the weekend. In my school, at weekends seems to be the one the teachers are focusing on. They also teach them on the weekend, but in my experience, I hear the kids saying at weekends, so I want to teach the same language that the Chinese teachers are teaching the students, that way I don't confuse them. So if you're teaching on the weekend in your school, and you buy this PowerPoint, you can just change this to on the weekend. Okay, so you have them write it in their notebook. Okay, most of the students in grade 4, 5, and 6 should understand what a weekend is. That's why I don't have a translation here. But just having them write it down, and they're going to use it. That's the point. All right, so do you ever play video games? You can have the class say, yes I do, I play video games at weekends. This is just to show them an example of how it's used in a sentence. Okay, and in the time of day, and I'm putting an S here, I want the kids to learn that, generally when they're talking about what they do, we add an S. So in the mornings, in the afternoons, and in the evenings. I'm not including at night because it's different. It's at night, and also none of the things we're doing are going to be at night. Okay, so it doesn't make sense to have it here and just add another element that might confuse some of the kids. I want to be consistent in the mornings, in the afternoons, in the evenings. All right, so here's an example of how to use it in the sentence, and then the next one. Okay, so it's on, and then one of the days of the week with an S. On Mondays, on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, on Thursdays, on Fridays, on Saturdays, on Sundays. Okay, then there's the example. Do you ever go to the cinema? Yes, I do. I go to the cinema on Fridays. Okay, and then we have in the season, in the spring, in the summer, in the autumn, in the winter. Okay, and here's the example. Okay, and then we're going to get into the game. Okay, so this game is designed to get them to use the language in a dialogue. And if you did teach my first lesson, or you've seen my original lesson, you'll know that it was very basic. It was, do you ever go shopping? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Okay, it was very, very basic. And that's why I wasn't really comfortable having the lesson out there anymore, because I thought it just wasn't the kind of lesson I wanted to be showing other people. It's too easy, okay? And this is what I wanted to change it into. I've had this idea for a while, and I finally made it happen. So, do you ever play video games? The students can choose to say, yes, I do, or no, I don't. Now, there's a variety of ways you could play this game in your class, having one student come up and the class ask them, or having one student come up and having their team ask them, or having 2 students from one team come up and perform the dialogue. Now, it says choose one and click. So let's say they say, yes, I do. You click it, and it takes them to this slide. And here, they ask the next question, okay? So whether it's the student who came up with them from their team or the entire class, they ask the next question. When do you play video games? And the student should answer, I play video games, and they can choose. They can choose which one they want. At weekends, in the spring, in the summer, in the autumn, in the winter, in the mornings, in the afternoons, in the evenings, or on, and say the day of the week with an S. Now you'll notice that I didn't put them here like that because I want the students to know they have to add the S. They have to say it on their own, okay? I'm not going to spoon feed this part of the lesson to them. I want them to be able to remember they should have to add the S. And of course, during class you can help them, but you want them to be able to do it, okay? Or try to be able to do it on their own without being told every single part of it. They're already having a lot of help here with all of this stuff already laid out for them. And after they answer, you click one of the tiles and they can get points, okay? So if they answer this way, they can get 4 points, and then you can click back and you can have the next team try. Now let's say the next team also says, yes, I do. They can go back to the same slide, say something different, and get points. Or they can say, no, I don't. Now if they say, no, I don't, it takes them to this other slide, okay? Why don't you ever play video games? And they can answer with their own answer here with another reason, any reason they want, or they can say one of the reasons that I have here for them, okay? Sorry, my cat is jumping around. They could say, okay, so why don't you ever play video games? Because they are boring. Because I don't have any time. Because my parents won't let me. Now, for each one of these, you can explain it to them. You can, during class, you can say they are boring. You can say boring, no fun. It's no fun, Some of the students might know what boring means. If they do, you can have them raise their hand and tell you in their native language, and you can have one of them write on the board. It's a new word they can learn if you'd like. I don't have any time. They should be able to understand this. My parents won't let me. In my class, I said, your mom and dad won't let you. Mom and dad. Okay, then they understand what it means. And then they click, and they can get points. Okay? And you can play, you can stay on this with all the teams if you want, or after one team does or two teams do it, you could then click and move to the next question. Do you ever go shopping? Okay? Again, same thing. They can say, yes, I do, in which case it takes them to pretty much the same kind of slide, right? And they can get points. Or they can say, no, I don't. And now it has different ones for this. Why don't you ever go shopping? Because it's boring. Because I don't like shopping. I don't have any money. Or another reason, okay? In my class, a lot of the students wanted to say another reason. They were, trying to use the English that they know, which I was really happy about. I think some of them were thinking that another reason one might be more points, but it's not. And not always. I mean, sometimes it might be, but my points are random, okay? But some of them were thinking, I think another reason one must be worth more, so they were trying to come up with their own reasons. That's fine. I mean, you could do that. You could change the points to be higher, and then they would always try to use that one, which is fine. But the reason I didn't want to do that is because what if they try to use harder stuff, and then they make a mistake, and then I'm still having to click on and give them the points because I don't want to discourage them from trying, to say something harder. But then every single team is just trying to say the hard one, and they're all just getting at the top points. I wanted it to be more random, so they weren't just I must use something else. I must try to use something else. Because this other stuff is also kind of hard for them. Not all of them could even really use it correctly. So I didn't want them to feel the pressure, I have to come up with something on my own in order to get the most points, or my team's going to be disappointed or something. Okay, so same thing, rinse and repeat with the next ones, and each one has a different, different kinds of, with the why don't you ever question, the answers are different. I don't like sports, I'm a bit lazy, I'm not good at sports, and so on. So they could obviously say, yes, I do, get points, or they can say, no, I don't, and they can get different points by answering here. Now what you'll notice is this is a dialogue, right? Why don't, do you ever play sports? Yes, I do. And then it's, when? When do you play sports? I play sports in the spring, in the autumn, okay? Or if they say, no, I don't, it's why don't you ever? So this is a little dialogue here, but it's being played within a game. So the kids will find it fun, okay? And you rinse and repeat with a few of them. I think I put 4 in here. All right, yeah, 4. Okay, I didn't put all 6 of them because it's just going to get repetitive and you're just not going to have time, I think, in class. So you just want to get them using this. Do you ever? Yes, I do. When do you? Why don't you ever? And get them to repeat and use these a few times each before you go into the next game. Okay, so the final game of this class is the spinning wheel game. And again, you could play this in a variety of ways. What I did is I brought 2 students up from one team. One of them would spin the wheel, stop, and the other one would ask them, or that one would ask, the other one, do you ever go shopping? And then here they need to say, yes, I do, no, I don't, and have the dialogue, but with no other real help from the PowerPoint. Okay, so if they say, yes, I do, then the other student would say, when do you go shopping? Or when do you play video games? Or whatever. And they would say, I play video games at weekends. I play video games in the spring. They have to remember how to use this stuff. They can bring up their notebook, of course, if they want. Or they can say, no, I don't. And then it can be asked, why don't you ever go shopping? And they can give their own answer, because it's boring, because I don't have any money, and so on. And then they can, each one of the students that's at the front can spin one of the wheels, okay? And they both stop the wheels, and then we add up the points. So in this case, 5 plus 5 equals 10, give 10 points to their team, and then rinse and repeat with the next teams. And each team can have at least one go, and this is like the big thing at the end of the lesson to get lots of points, okay? Because they could potentially get 16 points if they get an 8 and an 8. And that's the lesson. That's the whole thing. And then at the end, there's some homework. They need to do some writing. You can show them this example. They can say, do you ever do exercise? If yes, when? If not, why not? And they can here's 4 different questions you can assign for them for homework. Okay, and that's the end of the first lesson. Now, the reason I'm much happier with this lesson than I am with the previous original version, which will no longer be for sale, is because this could work as a standalone lesson. Okay, and that's what I wanted. I don't want it to be, okay, someone takes or buys the do you ever, only the do you ever lesson, they use it and they're like, well, I don't think it was that great because it didn't really work as a standalone lesson, okay? It was made so that they would buy all 3, or at least buy the adverbs of frequency afterward, but this one will work as a standalone lesson, okay? Of course, it does lead into the adverbs of frequency, but this one, it's not necessary that you do buy it as well, the adverbs of frequency. All right, let's get into the adverbs of frequency. Okay, so again, obviously this lesson has, the same intro and rules and everything, and then there's the review, which includes all the vocabulary from the previous lesson, and then the very end of the last lesson. Okay, but I changed the points and stuff around, but it's the same thing. So they can go through and play that same activity you saw in the previous PowerPoint as a refresher, remind them what they learned the previous week, and everything like that, so that they, a lot of the students may have forgotten. It's been like a week. Sometimes teachers teach their students every 2 weeks, so maybe it's 2 weeks. Okay, and then after they do the review of what they learned in the previous lesson, we will teach the new vocabulary. Okay, so this part of the lesson is the same as it was before. I just obviously changed like the background. I made it prettier. I just made everything look nicer. So in this lesson, we're teaching adverbs of frequency, always. Do you ever play sports? Yes, I do. I always play sports. The student should write down the words. Same thing here with usually. You can practice question and answer. Have them write down the word. Often, same thing. Again, this is very similar to the original lesson. I just made it a lot prettier, a lot nicer. It just looks better in every way now. So I'm much happier with the way the lesson is now. These lessons, do you ever, adverbs of frequency, and the how often lesson were some of the first lessons that I released for sale in the summer of 2021. So they were good, but I just think at this point, I can make them better. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, and never. Okay, so here you go. That's all the vocabulary, and then here into our quick translation game. This game is the same as it was before. Again, I just made it look nicer, but it's the same thing. They see the Chinese and they have to say the correct English word. Now, if you're teaching in another country, you can easily change all of this into the language wherever you are. This PowerPoint is totally editable. You can do what you need to do to make it work in your own school. Okay, but this is just a quick translation game. The first student to say to translate the word essentially gets points for their team. Okay. And yeah, that's the way it works. It's a fun game. The kids really like games like this, I found, but it's only really good for drilling words. And in my lessons, I want to practice dialogues. So I don't just play games like this the whole lesson, but it's a good warm-up once they learn the new word. Okay, and then let's get into the second part of the lesson. Okay, so again, I just think the second part of the lesson is just much, much better than what I originally had, and I'm much happier with the way it is now. So I hope you guys are happy with it. Hopefully this is giving you some ideas, or maybe you'll decide to purchase this PowerPoint and teach it yourself. So Again, you bring up one student or two students from one team and have the class ask them, or have that student ask the other student anything they want. Do you ever, and they can choose one of them, do you ever go to the cinema? Now, if the student says, yes, I do, you'll click the green check. If they say, no, I don't, you'll click the red X. Okay, so the green check will take them to when. Okay, so since they said yes, now we're going to ask when. When do you go to the cinema? And they can say, I always go to the cinema in the spring, or I always go to the cinema on Tuesdays, or I usually go to the cinema at weekends. They can say what they want. Okay, so this one is in black, it goes with the black one. This is red, it goes with the red one. Okay, so let's say they say, I often go to the cinema in the evenings. So often in the evenings, 5 plus 3 is 8 points, and then click back, and then the next team can have a go. Now, if they said, no, I don't, okay, no, I don't, now they can say, I seldom go to the cinema because, and they can say the answers, or I never go to the cinema because, and you'll see that the answers are the same because, like, you know, it could be the same kind of reasons why they seldom or never go. You could change these if you want. Again, you can see that it's much harder here. You know, there's other words here. It's too expensive. I like to watch movies at home. People talk during the movies. So, you know, this is the thing, or another reason. And here, the points are much higher because they're just going to click one. So if they say they use I seldom do something, they're going to just choose one of these. Or never, they're going to choose just one of these. So these are essentially much higher. But you'll see, if you go back to the previous slide, 5 plus 3 is 8, right? Now, if they had clicked one of these, 6, 8, 9, 7. And it's the same deal down here, it's just different order, okay? But essentially, they could get those same point values. You know, they could get 6 plus 2 is 8, 5 plus 4 is 9, 4 plus 3 is 7, or they could have gotten 6 plus 4 is 10, 5 plus 3 is 8. They could have gotten higher point values. I tried to make it as fair as I possibly could, but it's going to be random. You don't know what they're going to choose. And again, you rinse and repeat with the other teams. You know, you bring up another team. Do you ever do exercise? The student says, no, I don't. Okay. I seldom do exercise because I'm a bit lazy. 9 points. Or I never do exercise because I don't like to exercise. Okay, 9 points. Again, oh, that's a good one. Or they could have said the other ones. Okay. And that's the way it works. Okay, so all of them are like this. Rinse and repeat with the different teams. You can play a few, maybe 1 or 2 rounds with each team, mixing and matching the answers here, right? So when do you play sports? I often play sports in the autumn. Okay, 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay, it's just fun. The kids like to get points. If you're playing this with grade 4, they're gonna love it. Grade 5 and 6, it'll work as well. Depending on how much your students are used to playing games like this in class, like grade 6 could be super excited about this too. It's just a great way to practice. And again, it's a dialogue. Do you ever? Yes, I do. When do you do it? I usually do it, blah, blah, blah. In the evenings, at weekends, on Thursdays. Okay, it's just getting them to practice. And again, you could rinse and repeat with all of them. And it'll work that if you want, you could play this game a bunch of rounds with each student, with each team, and it would work. It's all set up that you could play. Essentially, you could play what? You could see here. The one team could play 4 rounds here, and they could play, again, there could be 4 more rounds here. So this game could go on forever. I wouldn't recommend that. Just have each team go have 2 goes, and then go into the next game because it'll just go on for too long. Okay, so the next game is the 4 corners game. Okay, so the 4 corners game is the same game as I had in the original adverbs of frequency lesson. It's just a great game for large classes. The kids absolutely love it. Here's the example. You can see how it works. Bring up 4 students, or bring up 1 student from each team, and tell them to choose a corner. So, for example, in this case, the red corner is play video games. The green corner is play sports. The orange corner is drink soda, and the blue corner is go shopping. So they choose a corner of the room. You can show them which corner is what. You know, you could say the blackboard's here, right, in the back of the room, the windows, and the hallway. They choose a corner. This is just showing what it looks like so they can see a visual. And then the class asks them, do you ever, and they should ask them one by one. So do you ever play video games? Do you ever play sports? Do you ever go shopping? Do you ever drink soda? they give their answer. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Then the class will say, when? Okay? And if they say, no, I don't, then you can have them say, why don't you? Okay, you can add that in. If I put too much stuff on the slide, it'll just be confusing for the kids. So if they say, no, I don't, it's up to the teacher to say, help them. Why don't you ever play sports or whatever? And then the kids will say their answers. I sometimes play video games in the evening. I said, I never play sports. So in this case, it's I never. They could say whatever they want here. So the student said, I no, I don't. So I said, I never play sports. So then we can ask them, why don't you ever play sports? And they could say why they don't, okay? If they can come up with something. If they don't come up with something like on the spot, you can help them, they still get to play the game. You're not going to penalize them for, saying, not knowing what to say or whatever. You're there to help them, okay? And they're playing the game, so they're going to get points, or, they're maybe not going to get points if their corner isn't chosen, but they're still going to have fun, okay? So then you reveal which corner is the winning corner. In this case, it's the red corner. That means the team that chose the red corner can get 5 points. Now, more than one team could choose one corner, so it's not like whoever gets the corner first gets the corner and that's it. No, they could all run to one corner and stand there if you want, okay? And then you can actually play for real, okay? So this is round one. Bring up 4 students, have them stand in the front and say, ready, go. They choose a corner. Then we ask them, do you ever, one by one, go to the cinema, play video games, play sports, go shopping? They say, yes, I do. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. And then we say, when? And they say, I usually go to the cinema at the weekend. Or I usually go to the cinema, whatever. They could say anything that they want, in the mornings, in the evenings, and so on, and then reveal the winner. Oh, in this case, it is the same corner. I try to trick them, they probably think, oh, the red corner is not going to be chosen because that was the example, but there it is. And rinse and repeat with each one, okay?
Ready,
so this is the way the game works. It's, like I said, it's the same as the original lesson, except now I've added when, and they should ask, when or why don't you in that case. If they say, no, I don't. Okay, and then they get points. Now, if you buy this lesson, some people I think might buy this lesson for just this game alone. Okay, this game is also part of one of my game packages. I think 4 games for ESL classrooms, 4 great games for ESL classrooms. So if you just want this game, you can find it in the other package, or you can buy it as part of this lesson. Some people might think the price of this PowerPoint, just this game alone might be worth having, because you can use this, in a bunch of different lessons. You could just change it. It's very easy to change the picture and the words into any dialogue, any English you want, and then you have a awesome game that works really well with large classes. The kids love this game. I try not to play with them more than once a semester because it's just too exciting for them, and it's something you can use as a reward game. Otherwise, they'll just get too excited. And at the end here, we have a spinning wheel game to finish it up as a review. You don't have to play this. You could end the class with the 4 corners, and then you can take these slides and add them into your future lessons as the review portion of the lesson. That's why I have it here. It's just pretty much as a review. Do you ever go to the cinema? Yes, I do. It takes them to the when slide, or they could say, no, I don't, and it takes them into, I seldom, and tell me why. I never, and tell me why, and then that's it. Okay, so this is the whole lesson. Again, I try to include as much stuff here as I can to give you guys the most value. Here is some homework you could give them. This can be changed however you want. Just as this is just an example, just so you know, you should include some sort of writing activity to assign as homework. It's a good practice, and the kids, they'll benefit from it, having some homework. Okay, and that's the end of the adverbs of frequency lesson. Let's go into the how often lesson. Okay, so once again, the beginning of the lesson is the same, the rules and what have you, and then we have the quick translation game again, and then the review a portion of the last lesson, just like I showed you at the end of the adverbs of frequency lesson. Here is the same activity again, so they can review what they learned the previous week. where this slide could just be taken and added in. You know, if you just buy the how often lesson, I wouldn't recommend it. I think you should buy all three. It'll help it be, you know, they'll learn everything and get to practice it more. But if you just buy the how often lesson, you'll have this at the beginning of the lesson. You can, you know, practice this stuff with them. And then we go into the lesson. Now, this part of the lesson is pretty much exactly the same as I had it in the original. We're going over these things. Most of the students, I would say, should know, especially in grade 5 and grade 6, but in grade 4, they'll definitely be learning it, and it's just a great review. I just made the PowerPoint look nicer. The backgrounds are different. The coloring is a little bit different. I just made it a better lesson all over, and yeah, you're just learning, you know, once, 3 times, 4 times, 8 times, practicing saying these things. Again, this lesson is totally editable. If you're not teaching this in a place where they speak Chinese, or you don't like the simplified Chinese, if you're in Taiwan or Hong Kong, you can change all that however you need to for wherever you are. And then we go into the next part of the lesson, learning to say once a week, twice a week. And again, I have the calendars here so that it's really clear what it means. And what I do in my class is I show them like this, and I have the students raise their hands and tell me, you know, how to say it in English. Okay, so again, if you're in a place where they don't speak Chinese, you can ask a friend how to say this in the local language and add the proper translation there. I like to have the translation just so it's very, very clear what is happening. You know, if you just have a bunch of check marks on a calendar, not everyone's going to understand what's going on. So I think the translations, especially for something like this, it makes it really clear, and just it makes the class go much more smoothly because all the kids are watching, observing, and they're understanding what's going on, and they're practicing saying the, you know, twice a month, once a week, whatever, twice a week. They're just getting a good chance to practice it without being confused. Like, what's this foreign teacher saying? What's happening? Okay, so it just makes the class run much smoother, and it's much clearer, and you know that they understand what you're saying and what you're trying to teach them, so you're not guessing. Okay, did the students understand or not understand? You know, so I just think it's wise to have the translations there. All right, let's go into the next part of the lesson. Okay, so now that they've learned like how to say all those things, they've gotten to say it. Now we're going to drill it, and we're going to drill it with a quick say game. So you show them this. The first student to say what it is correctly, in this case should be once a week, would get points for their team. Now you can have one student from each team stand up at their seats to play this game if you like, or you can play it with the whole class. If you play with the whole class, you know, it involves more students, but it'll just be them screaming. You might not know what they're saying. So I think it's wiser to just select one student from each team to play this part of the lesson, okay? Because it's a phrase, like 4 times a week, so you want to make sure they can say it. There's a bunch of ways you could play this game. You know, you could have them, one student say each word, you know, until they say the full phrase or something like that. There's a bunch of ways you could do it, but again, it's just, you taught it and now you want to drill it. You can watch my videos on my channel to see how I generally do stuff like this in my class, but everyone has a different style, and no style is right or wrong, okay? And here, for the last one, you can see I had the thing there because I want them to be quick, because otherwise they'll be looking like to see if there's more than one or not. You can remove that if you like. And let's go into teaching part 3. So here, they need to make a sentence with it so they can see I go shopping, and it should be 3 times a week. We're just scaffolding, right? Now you're taking what they just learned, adding in the vocab from the previous lessons, and seeing if they can put it together into a sentence. Okay, so I play video games twice a week. Again, they're using the calendar to determine what's the frequency here. So I go to the cinema once a month, and so on. Okay, so I try to make my lessons really visual so that students can understand and get the concept I'm trying to teach them at the same time that they're learning the language. Okay, so part 4 is how often. Okay, so I put it here in their first language to see if they could translate it. Again, you can change this to whatever language your students speak, and now they're going to say the dialogue. So how often do you play sports? I play sports. Look at the calendar, 5 times a week. And rinse and repeat. You can do this as a class, or you can do this, you can call 2 students from one team to stand up and do it from their seats. There's a bunch of ways you could do it. The way I think of it is when you're teaching a large class, You want to involve as many students as you can, but still be in control of what's going on, because you could put them in groups and have them have a dialogue with each other. But if you're doing that with a class of more than 30, you're not going to know if they're actually doing what you're asking. So it'll work, and I do that sometimes, but I only allow them to do that for like 5 minutes of the class, because I can only monitor so many students at the same time, right? By walking around the room. And it just becomes like a really loud class, where if you're doing it and monitoring it the way I'm doing it, where I'm showing you here, you can make sure they're saying it correctly. Other students can hear them saying it, and if they make a mistake, you can correct it in front of the whole class so they can see how they should say it, and then practice and drill together so they can learn the pronunciation. And then later on, they can practice in groups and stuff. But when you're initially teaching it, you want to make sure they're learning it right, otherwise they'll get fossilized errors. All right, let's go into the next part of the lesson. Okay, so this last activity is kind of playing on the same theme that I've had for the previous 2 lessons. Because these lessons go together, I wanted them to kind of be consistent. Okay, so the way it works is you bring up one student from one of the teams, they stand at the front, and they will choose one. So they choose which one they want, they point at it, and the whole class or their team will ask them, do you ever, and let's say they point at drink soda, the whole class says, do you ever drink soda? They say, yes, I do. You click on drink soda, it takes them to the slide about soda, and the whole class will say, how often do you drink soda? And they need to make the sentence using one of these and one of these. And you'll notice that they're color coded. So the blue line goes the blue, and the red goes the red. And let's say they say, I drink soda once a week. Okay, 3 plus 5 is 8 points. Okay, and that's how it works. Or they could say 3 times a month. Okay, now let's say they said 3 times a week. You click back. The next team comes up, and they also want to do drink soda. That's fine. It'll take them to the slide. The points are already used. It doesn't reset itself. As long as you follow the arrows and everything here I have set up, it won't reset. Okay, and then the next team comes up, same thing. They choose one. They choose go shopping. So do you ever go shopping? They say, yes, I do. The class says, how often do you go shopping? I go shopping 4 times a year. Okay, and they get the points. Okay, and obviously the point values on each slide are different, so that the students. So we have 3, 6. It's all different on each slide. Okay, they're all like 3, 4, 5s, and 6s generally, but it's different order. Okay, so they can mix and match and make their own sentences, and they can get points, and they think it's fun, and they're practicing English, and that's the point of this class, is for them to have fun and practice English and want to study English and want to get better and feel good about it. Okay, and that's the whole class. Okay, I think it's pretty clear and straightforward, but if you have any questions about any of this, you can ask me, you can send me a message, you can email me. If you have any questions about any of my lessons, you can email me. I'm always available. I'm always helping different teachers, giving them ideas, talking to them about their curriculums, everything. Okay, so I am here to help out, and that's why I'm releasing these videos. I want to help other teachers. I want to give the best students I possibly can to my students and to students out there around the world. Okay, so at the end you have a review slide here. They can ask the question again, or you can take the slide and add it to future lessons. And again, at the end there's like a little writing activity, very basic. You can change this however you want. You could remove it, not include it, however you like. So that's the whole lesson. That's the end. That's all 3 lessons. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed that. All right, that's the end of the run-throughs. I really hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget, if you'd like to download 1, 2, or all 3 of these PowerPoints, you can find links in the video description below, or you can go to my Taobao store. And if you've previously purchased any of these lessons, you're going to be getting them for free. Look for an email from Sendowl if you bought it on Sendowl, or look for an email from me if you bought it on Taobao. If you don't receive an email or an update, in the next week, please reach out to me. Let me know that you did buy it, and I will send it to you absolutely for free, because I really appreciate everyone who bought my lessons in the past, and I really want to make sure you have the best lessons for your students. Okay, that's my goal. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and leave a comment below if you have any questions, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.